All right. So, in order to be successful for today, everyone needs to have their diagram that we started yesterday, ear on the front, eye on the back. You need to have colored pencils or crayons, and you need to have a pen, I'd prefer, because there's a lot of writing that's going to be happening today. Friendly reminder that on Monday you have vocab 11 through 20, so please make sure you're ready for that. Over the weekend, you should be doing your outline so you don't have that real life stress. Can't we agree? So please make sure you get that done. Sensation and perception 1, I don't think is that bad. It's way less parts than the brain and all that stuff. But, I mean, it is kind of tricky. So make sure you are looking at your stuff this weekend in order to be successful in Wednesday's test. This is what your eye diagram is going to look like when it's done. So you are going to be writing a bunch of stuff in there, so please try to keep it in the same area I am, just to make sure you can get all the information you need. You will be turning in this diagram for points, because everything you do in this room is for points, so please make sure you got everything, including the coloring, because it's done to help you, not hurt you. So, yesterday we did start, much to Camden's chagrin.
It was not just me.
So yesterday we did talk about the cornea, and for me I'm going to label the cornea this green color. The cornea is a clear glass-like eye that is over your iris and your pupil. If you put contacts in, this is what you put the contact on top of. It is literally a clear layer that allows light to go through and protects your eye. So that's what the cornea is. The next thing that we discussed yesterday is the pupil, and the pupil is the hole, it's the black part in the center of your eye. It is literally nothing. A pupil is nothing because there's nothing there. It's a hole in your eye that allows light to go through. So ladies and gentlemen, if you get LASIK eye surgery, what they do is they cut down here at the base of your cornea, they cut a little flap, then they pull up the cornea, and then they stick all of the tools through your pupil. So, like, your pupil is literally a hole. They cut the lens and it just, like, flaps down, which we'll talk about in a second. And then they can get into the back and do all the lasers for all that stuff. Like, your pupil is literally a hole. Anyone here ever get their eyes dilated? Which means, like, you have, like, no iris. It's, like, a big black, and, like, everything hurts because you see so much light. That's playing with your iris. What do you got?
So when your eyes are dilated, does the hole get bigger?
Yeah, the hole gets bigger to allow more light in. Because, like, if you've ever played, like, Manhunt at night, like, you play hide and go seek at night, okay? Like, if you ever come in to, like, and look in the, like, bathroom mirror really quick, and then after you've been outside in the dark for a long time, your eyes look like crazy people. Like, huge pupils. Because when it's dark out, your pupils open to allow more light in. And just like if you go outside and, like, it's super, super bright out, how big are your pupils? Teeny, teeny, tiny, because it's trying to filter out the light. And that's your iris, which is perfect. We'll start there. It is your iris that decides the size of your pupil. So your iris is the colored part of your eye. That is made up of muscles that constrict or dilate your eye. Controls the amount of light getting in or entering. Okay, so your iris is the one that limits it. So for me, my iris is blue because I have blue eyes, so I'm going to make this diagram blue eyes. If you'd like to make it brown because you have brown eyes, do that. If you're like McCray and you have green eyes, put green, whatever you like. Or you can just do blue too. I personally don't care. What?
What does that say? Is the what part of your eye?
Is the colored part of your eye?
Oh.
Okay. What do you got, Charles?
Is there any correlation to like different eye colors?
No, it's not like my blue eyes are superior to your brown eyes or anything like that. It's just genetics. Blue are recessive, so they're less common. But no. A lot of like your white people, like your like Swedish, like your Finns and stuff like that, have blue eyes because it's easier to see the snow and the changes of snow better. While in places like Africa where it's like super damn hot, and the brown has less of catches less of the reflection, so it's easier to absorb light. So typically people from like your original people, like your original humans, not people now who've migrated all over the place, blue or up north in the snow, while your brown eyes are going to be located in warmer temperatures because of the amount of reflection off of things, which is pretty cool. What you got, Kelly?
Aren't blue eyes like really light blue eyes super sensitive to sunlight?
To what?
To sunlight?
I don't know, more or less. That's not really my focus. It could be. So the lens focuses and flips the image upside down to make it easier for the retina to process. Okay, so right behind your pupil. Oh my God, it is. You may have to do some of this by yourself. Your lens is directly behind your pupil. So there's nothing in front of your pupil except for your cornea, which is just a layer, but behind your pupil there is the lens, and the lens allows and filters the light. Anyone here ever strain their eyes? Like you read a book and it like your eyes kind of hurt, like and you're reading it and it's not very dark. It's kind of dark out and you shouldn't be reading. Or if you're reading, going through your damn cell phone in the dark and your eyes hurt after a while because like you're straining, it's because the little muscles that are holding your lens in place are constantly adjusting to make sure the light is sharp enough that you can see clearly. So what's happening is that when you feel your eyes getting like tired, not like sleepy, like you feel like your eyes kind of hurt because they've been working so hard, that is because the little muscles there have been adjusting the light to make sure it's as sharp as it can possibly be. All right. Now we have, right here, we have the vitreous humor. And then it supports the structure of the eye. And it is jelly and clear. It's literally looks like jelly. Anyone here ever dissected an eyeball before? At the end of it, did they squish it?
We did a cow eyeball.
Yeah, and they squish it, and it's like a clear jelly that jumps out. It's pretty cool. That's exactly what your eyes are filled with. It's just this clear jelly. Now, have you ever seen like little particles floating in your vision? It kind of looks like little fairy dust floating around. Yes? Okay, especially if you shake your head like really quickly, you see like little fairies like in your peripheral. What it is that you get dust in your vitreous humor, and it catches it as the light's coming through, and that's what it is. So I used to think that little fairies were following me. Hashtag blessed. And but I could never see them because they didn't want me to. So every time I moved and I saw the little hazes, that was them following me. It wasn't. It was dust. So that sucks. Okay. Now we have a retina. Now your retina. This is where transduction occurs. Light is turned into a neural impulse. Okay, so your retina, for me it's going to be red, is where transduction occurs, and it is on the back of your eye. So if we were going to do an analogy, the analogy would be this is the film of a camera. Okay, so a analogy of a retina, this is where the image is projected on. So what happens is we have light, and you need a yellow. You need yellow. So light goes into your eyeball, through your pupil, through your cornea, into your pupil. So your light goes into your eye, through your cornea into your pupil, which is of course surrounded by the iris. It goes into the lens, and the lens sits there and shuffles it back and forth to try to make a nice straight line and clarify. And then that line goes straight back and hits your retina. Okay, so the light goes into your cornea through your pupil, which is surrounded by your iris, gets sharpened by your lens, and then goes to the back of your retina. When it hits your retina at what we call the fova, F-O-V-E-A, also known as focal point, you need to know both. Okay, this is where the image hits the retina, and this affects the image's clarity. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, does anyone in the room need glasses or contacts? Congratulations. You have a bad fova. Okay, so if you wanted to curse something specific, it's your fova. So, depending on if you're nearsighted or farsighted, dictates if your eyeball is too long or too short. If your eyeball is too short, the light doesn't hit your fova correctly. If your eyeball is too long, it doesn't hit it at all, and that affects the clarity of the image. Raise your hand if you're 20/20. Okay, you have perfect eyeballs. They are perfectly shaped. You should be so proud. Because your eyeballs are perfectly shaped, the light goes into your eye and perfectly hits your fova. Your fova is located right here. This is where your fova is located, and if it hits there perfectly, you have 20/20 vision. Okay? So, if you have 20/20 vision, it's because your fova is perfect. Nina, what's the matter? Okay, well, all I can hear is you talking, so I assume you have a problem. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
Cool. So, underneath your fova, we have something called a blind spot. It is any images that hit the blind spot, cannot be seen, which is pretty cool. So your blind spot for me is going to be orange, is right on your optic nerve. The reason why nothing that hits your optic nerve is because there's no retina there. All that light goes just straight to your brain, which we'll talk about in more detail later. So the next thing we're going to fill in is your sclera. Your sclera, C-S-C-L-E-R-A. It is the eye muscle outside your eye, your eyeball, that moves your eye. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to look straight, and then I want you to look left without moving your head. And then I want you to look right without moving your head. Keep your head straight and just go back and forth. You feel how you stressed out a muscle behind your eyes? That's your sclera moving. Isn't that cool? Like, you can really stress it out, so don't. Like, people have strained their sclera. Like, don't. Yeah, can you imagine? Oh, man, what's wrong with your eye? Ah, I sprained it. Like, that'd be so weird. Oh, man. All right. What do you got, Camden?
Slide over a little.
No.
Please.
Okay, so your sclera, for me, it's going to be pink. So your sclera is on the outside of your eye. If you shifted your eyes back and forth, keeping your head still, you can feel it. And it is all the way over here. So that is what is responsible for moving your eyeballs. You don't want to stress it because you can sprain it. And think of how weird that conversation would be. Oh my God, what's wrong with you? Oh man, I was going too hard looking to the side. Sclera. All right. The next thing we're going to label is your optic nerve. Okay, your optic nerve. This sends neural impulses to the occipital lobe to be processed by the visual cortex. So for me, it's going to be a dark green. And it's this. That is where your blind spot hits, is on your optic nerve. The reason why any image that hits your blind spot can't be seen is because your retina is the only thing that processes light. So that's your optic nerve. Okay, so we have a complication, of course, when we talk about transduction. It can't be that simple, can it? So let's talk about the retina. Now the retina is where transduction occurs, and it's located on the back of your eye. Okay, and that's where light hits. However, there is complication to it. So we are going to draw a box, just like we did on the other side. We're going to draw a nice little box. It should be where I have mine because we have lots of information we're going to be writing in here. Okay, so this is your retina. So we're going to label it retina so we know what we're looking at.
Does it say visual earlobe?
Visual earlobe?
I don't know.
No, it says visual cortex. So light hits the retina. Okay, so light hits the retina. Okay, so we're going to have light hitting the retina. I'm going to take yellow and make it light. Perfect. That's the retina. Inside your retina, you have 3 layers of cells. You have your ganglion. Then you have your bipolar. And then you have your rods and cones. Do the best you can. It doesn't need to be perfect, but you do need to know this. So we're going to do it. Rods and cones. Rods and cones. Rods and cones. Rods and cones. Okay, so on your retina, there are 3 layers of cells you need to know. And they are ganglion, then you have your bipolar, and then you have your rods and cones. We're going to label them here in a second. Okay, so the first layer of cells on your retina are known as ganglion cells. Ganglion cells. Your second layer of cells on your retina are known as bipolar cells. And then your third layer is your rods and cones. Now your rods are going to read all of your white and black colors, while your cones see all of your colors. Cones starts with what letter?
C.
C. Color starts with what letter? C. So cones, color, cones, color. So your rods see black and white, and your cones pick up the color. And then finally, once it goes ganglion, bipolar, rods, and cones, then we have transduction. And what is transduction, ladies and gentlemen? It now turns into a neural impulse. So let's color in our stuff. So my ganglion are going to be this ugly burnt orange colors. It goes ganglion. So the light hits the retina. The first cells to process it are going to be ganglion. Then your second cells are going to be bipolar, which are going to be blue for me. Then my third ones are going to be orange, and they are rods and cones. I'm just going to do that. And then finally, I'm going to have transduction, and for me, it's going to be purple, and that is what's happening back here, and I'm going to draw just a purple line behind. So once it gets to there, then we have transduction. Pretty cool, right? So the light is going to hit your retina. the light goes through your ganglion, then your bipolar, then your rods and cones, and then you have transduction. So let's go from start to finish how light enters your eye. So first thing is it goes through your cornea. Then it goes into your pupil, which is surrounded by your iris. Then it hits your lens. Then it hits your fova or your focal point. Then it hits your retina. Now your retina is where transduction occurs. So we're going to write a star, transduction. And of course we know it goes ganglion cells. Goes ganglion, bipolar, and rods and cones. Then we have the optic nerve. And then 8 is your occipital lobe, which is then going to process all the neural impulses that we just sent to it after we created it on our retina. Isn't that cool?
So cool. No, it's actually interesting.
It is. Like you're literally using it as you're learning it. And I think I strained my eye when I was doing the scleria stuff. Cool. All right, so that is how light enters your eye and is processed. And it's happening so incredibly fast that you don't even see the gap in between one process of neural impulse to the next. Isn't that crazy? Ugh, you people. All right, take out your focus. Let's do it. No, we don't need that part. What do you got, Charles? Did you have a question, my darling?
Could you like move it down to that?
How about I hand it to you, my love? Perfect. Take out your focus. Let's fill in some stuff. Let's use our time effectively. I have no idea what time you leave, so it sounds like a good idea. 3 minutes? Oh my God, we can get so much done in 3 minutes. What a time to be alive. Here we go. Sensation. Sensation. Both.
Okay.
You know I like to fill out your study guide first. Sensation is the activation of receptors in various sense organs. Okay, so sensation. How many senses do you have? 5. We're going to really focus on 2 of them, but you do have 5 because station is like really lame. You have taste buds. Ta-da, transduction. Olfaction. You have an olfaction bulb. Transduction. It's very exciting. So pretty simple. Now, sensory receptors are specialized forms of neurons. Sensory receptors are where transduction occurs. So what is the sensory receptor in your eye? Retina! Yes! What is the sensory receptor in your ear? Cilia? No, cochlea is not it. It's inside the ciliary membrane is your sensory receptor in your ear. So your sense organs are your eyes, ears, nose, skin, and taste buds. Okay? So those are your sense organs, and you need to know you have 5 senses. What do you got, Kelly? Sure. I would put that where your sensory receptors are. That's fine. All right, so goodbye. Have a good weekend. Make sure you get your outline done so you have a good week. Yes?
Yes.
See ya. Ooh.